Are you a business owner stuck in fear, doubt, and worry about what the marketplace will look like in the future? Then this show is for you. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready to disrupt and innovate. Here's your host, Lisa Levy.
I am thrilled to welcome Ally Machate today. She is a best-selling author, publishing consultant, and the founder of the Writer's Ally. With roots in Big Five publishing at Simon & Schuster, Ally has spent 25 years or more helping serious nonfiction authors write, publish, and sell high-quality strategic books that actually move the needle. She cuts through the noise with her no-fluff guidance, allowing manuscripts to business goals, avoiding costly pitfalls, and turning books into powerful growth tools. If you've ever wondered why a good book isn't enough, this conversation's for you. Ally, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks so much for having me, Lisa. I'm glad to be here.
I am excited to have this conversation. Books are such a huge part of how we grow and lead our businesses today that it is important for everybody to understand what all is involved in this process. So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing today and why, from your perspective, it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So as the leader of the Writer's Ally, we are helping authors who have serious goals around their books to publish the right book, especially when we're talking about nonfiction. What that means is it's not just a vanity project. It's not just because someone told you need to have a book. It's not just to have something nice in your Zoom background. It's to have a book that is tied into your business goals, that is specifically geared to achieve certain growth goals that you have wherever it is you're heading in your business, and to make sure that you write the right book that's really going to attract and engage the right people to help you achieve those goals. And I think it's so important because we live in a very, very noisy world. There's so much content coming at us from every direction and every device. And even in this age of AI, it's only going to get worse. Content is getting easier to create. It's faster to create. So there's only going to be more of it. And really helping people to understand that the world doesn't need more books. We have plenty of books. We need better books. We need books that are positioned well so that they clearly stand out to the people who need them most, so they cut through the noise, and so they deliver real solutions to the people who need them.
Listening to everything that you're saying and thinking back on my writing journey going, I did this because 8 different people told me it was the next thing I was supposed to do in my career. And that was probably truly the wrong reason to do it. But over the course of what it means for me as a consultant to have that is huge, and it changes a lot of things. Talk to us a little bit about the benefits for your authors. What is the right book? What does it do for their business?
Yeah, absolutely. Writing that book for your business as a consultant, I would say you probably are the type of person for whom a book would be a good idea. Maybe it wasn't quite the right time at the time, but overall, I would say you are the right kind of person and the right kind of business. So, what does the wrong book looks like? The wrong book looks like a book that is not directly tied into a strategy. Strategy really underpins everything that we do at the Writer's Ally. It is all about being strategic, because when you publish a book that is going to move the needle in your business, right? People say, oh, you need to publish a book. Publishing a book will give you so much visibility. It's going to up-level your business. It's going to change everything. And what happens is people go and they publish the book and no one tells them what to do with it. It's just there, right? If they don't have a strong launch plan, or even after the launch, if they don't really understand how the book fits into their business and how to leverage it in all of the different ways that are available to them, they're really missing out. They're not going to get that ROI, and they're going to get stuck in this trap of just trying to sell books, just trying to sell one copy at a time, which of course we all want to sell books. That's kind of a given. But for most business owners and experts, when you publish a book, theoretically, you're doing it because you want to see business results. You want to see a larger audience. You want to see more opportunities. You want to get invited onto stages. You want to be able to send it to C-suite executives and get into corporate retreats and things like that. There's all different kinds of things that you do. So writing a book where you simply have an idea or something you're really passionate about and want to share, and failing to make the transition from that start, which is where a lot of people start, and that's totally normal, but not finding a place somewhere along the way where you're not thinking about what you want to say anymore and what you're doing anymore, and start thinking about what your audience wants to hear and what they're going to be looking for, right? Ultimately, you start writing a book because of you, but ultimately when you publish a book, it's not about you at all. It's about your audience. It's about the people you want to reach. So failing to consider that, being stuck in this silo of just what I want to say, what I think people need to hear, that can sometimes be the wrong book. A lot of people will also come to us, again, hearing that advice of, oh, I just need to write a book. It's time. I've been in business long enough, whatever. And what ends up happening is they look to their computer files and they say, well, what do I have a lot of content about? Oh, I've got these webinars. Oh, I've got these blog posts, right? I'm just going to compile. I have a lot of stuff over here. This is enough to make a book. I'll just put all of that together and I'll make that a book and I'll publish it and then I'll have a book. And even if you do that well, even if the book you create is objectively a good book, it still may not achieve the goals you want to achieve because you've let the content dictate the book instead of letting your strategy dictate the book.
Guilty. Totally. Content dictates the book. Oh my gosh. So that's a really key point, because for those people who are out there and people who tend to be on the cusp of writing books, right? They're usually people who have things to say, right? We may say it from stages. We may say it in consulting engagements, right? There's these things that we say over and over and over again, which do create the foundation and framework for something. But does it actually matter to our end customers in this, right? The potential audience, do they actually care about what it is that we want to say or the things that we say over and over and over again? And so the correlation for me, right, is really it's a sales and marketing conundrum, because using the consultant as the example, we're really good at what we do and how we do it. But our potential customers, or in this case, our potential readers, they don't care about that. They care, and it's always the what's in it for me part of this equation, and understanding and communicating those things in a way that's meaningful. So yes, right here, 2020, totally guilty. I put out the book of what I do and how I do it, and I hope everybody enjoys it. So when you partner with a client, talk to me about the journey that you take them on to take them from what I just described, maybe as the what I do and how I do it sort of mindset, into finding the real book that's inside them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do private consultations with anybody who's still in the very, very early stage. If they have a bunch of ideas, if they're not sure which idea to pursue, or if they just sort of have loose ideas and don't know how to refine it, I do consulting. We offer an outlining service to really help people create the structure if they need that kind of support. But the real sweet spot for us comes in what we call developmental editing. And that's when you have a completed draft and now it's time to really refine it. And a lot of people think editing and they think typos and spelling mistakes and, correcting grammar or voice. This level of editing is not about that. This is about who is your target audience? Is it clear right away to them that this book is meant for them? Are you addressing a real problem or pain point or interest, something that they're going to be out there looking for that your book will then satisfy? Is your voice consistent throughout the book? Is there a clear journey that you're taking the reader on? Almost all nonfiction books take readers on some kind of transformative journey, whether it's a transformation of an idea, they're trying to get you to think differently, or they're literally giving you some kind of system or practice to work through, like a weight loss program or, something like that. So is that happening? Is it clear? Is it compelling to the right people? Are all of those things in alignment? We help them to make sure all of those things are happening. And we're always thinking about that goal. It's one of the first things I ask people when I get on a strategy call with potential clients is, what are you doing in your business and how does the book fit into it? What do you hope to see in the world? Yes, you want to make an impact. Yes, you want to help people. Yes, you want to sell books. But what really specifically do you want to do with your business? And how do you see the book fitting into that? And sometimes they don't really see those connections. So we're helping them to make those decisions and sort of build that vision out on the fly. Sometimes they've written something. Most people don't miss the mark hugely. Usually it's a matter of degrees. It's not that the bullseye is here and they've written something over here, right? It's usually like circling where it needs to be, but it's not quite there. So we help them really to bring all of those pieces into alignment so that ultimately when they publish the book, and that goes beyond the content, right? We're also talking about cover design and packaging and how the copy is written on the back of the book and what keywords you use to publish the book. All of those things need to be a part of the same strategy with the same end goal in mind to really be successful.
Yeah, so really simple piece of wisdom in all of this, right? We're going down a journey with a end goal in mind. We are not just wandering aimlessly in the forest. There's a purpose and a point to this, and it all ties into the business goal. Fantastic. So, Allie, I know that when I work with clients that I have good stories, and I know that my editor probably has some really good stories that she would share with my experience as a writer. Starting off with it took us about 9 months for me to write it, edit it, and proof it and get it done. And I equated that to the idea of having a baby and having had a child of my own. I would decided that I never probably want to write a whole book again either. So it's a horrible 9 months. That was writing is hard work. I guess part of the point I wanted to make in this is it's hard work, and it's not for the faint of heart, because you are going to build it, you're going to tear it apart, you're going to build it again, and what you thought you were writing at the end is probably going to look radically different than where you thought you were going. And that is a good thing.
Yes.
Do you have a fun story you can share about a client who had, a journey with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a client who sort of made that kind of mistake. She was told she should write a book. She needed to grow her audience. She needed visibility. And she went to her computer and she found, okay, well, I have a lot of blog posts on this idea of meetings, right? It was post-pandemic. Everybody was learning how to do meetings on Zoom and online. People weren't in the same space as much anymore. And meetings in general had just kind of gotten out of hand in the business world. And she had written all of these articles on that subject, how to have better meetings, have better teamwork, how to be collaborating. And so she took all this material and put it together in a book. And then, of course, she came to us. Well, when we started talking to her about what she was really trying to do with the book and what was actually in the book, it became pretty clear quickly that there was a big gap. Now, she didn't want to scrap it and start all over. And again, she wasn't too far off the mark. She really wanted to be consulting with C-suite level executives. She wanted to be working with CEOs, leaders at the top levels to change their company culture and how people work together as teams in the company. But the book she had written, because it was so narrowly focused on running meetings, didn't quite reach that audience. CEOs aren't running meetings, right? It's the middle managers who are running the meetings. It's the people a little bit lower down the totem pole who are running the meetings, not the C-suite executives. So we worked with her to take the content that she had, identify the content that still worked, took some of it out, found some gaps, added some more. But the idea for her then became part of a strategy where she was going to leverage the book to attract those middle managers who were actually running the meetings. But we developed a funnel with her. Through those meetings, she would encourage those middle managers to introduce her to their executives or to take her book and give it to their executives. So to try to change the corporate culture around collaboration sort of through a back door.
And that is the strategic thinking element of what the Writer's Ally brings to this, because that's right. That's a multi-step process, multi-touch. And that's getting that one book in the hand instead of an individual. It's getting it potentially into the hands of many. If you take it from a middle manager to the C-suite, that is a game changer and a door opener for somebody to grow their business inside of companies. Thank you for sharing that story. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a great book.
And well, of course it is. Of course it is. It had developmental editing, and as opposed to
Yes.
simply proofreading, which,
Yes.
you know, anyway, proofreading is something my mom is an English teacher, and that part of my experience, I will never write anything that doesn't come back with editing. It's impossible. The mom standard is its own thing.
That is fair.
It is totally its own thing. Like, you are also a business owner, building and growing your own business. Will you talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that you've faced building your business?
Yeah, of course. I have a journey probably like a lot of solopreneurs. I used to work at Simon & Schuster as an acquiring editor. I started to see some things changing in the industry that I didn't like quite so much. We went through some things that just sort of in the world, we went through 9/11, we went through the dot-com bust. New York was kind of emptying out. A lot of businesses in New York were laying people off. We were not immune to that. And so the environment had really changed. I was really learning that at the big corporate level, that big five publishing level, we were owned by Viacom at the time. They understandably were very, very focused on selling as many books as possible because that's what you do when you're a book publisher. But in reality, what that actually meant was that there were a lot of people that I was meeting, a lot of books coming across my desk and authors that I was meeting who had really great content, who had really great experiences, who were really passionate about what they were doing. But they didn't have a big enough platform to interest a publisher. They didn't have national visibility. They weren't best friends with Oprah. They didn't have a 200,000 person mailing list, right? They had something and they had something valuable, but the scale was a mismatch. And it started to really frustrate me. About the same time, we had print on demand technology, then ebook technology a few years later. The availability of technology to help people independently publish at a really good level, at a quality level, suddenly became a thing. So I shifted my business. I was working in the publishing industry. I went freelance just to take a break, let the chips fall, as they say, in the wake of all of this chaos. I finished up a master's degree I'd been hacking away at for a few years, and I started freelancing. And I loved it. Working directly with authors in that way was so fulfilling and so satisfying, and helping them to understand how to look at their books and their book ideas as more than just, I want to write a good book, right? Understanding that a good book isn't enough. It has to be a marketable book. It has to be tailored in to what you're trying to do. All of that was incredibly satisfying for me. And then as time went by, I found myself in a position of having to turn people away because I was working on larger and larger projects. So my availability was limited. And I was having to tell people that they were going to have to wait for me 5 months, 6 months, 9 months. It got longer and longer. And I was referring people to a lot of others. And I thought, that's great, but there has to be a better way to do this. These people are coming to me, they're trusting my judgment, they're trusting my experience. How can I parlay that into something that gets them what they need with less stress? So instead of letting them have to go and hire 10 different people to help them produce a book, I decided to build my own team, and I started the Writers Ally. And, we experienced all the same kinds of challenges that people starting a business, figuring out the messaging and positioning. How do we stand out in a crowded market? I know that we're the best, but there's lots of other choices, right? How do we let people know how to make the choice if they want to work with us? What makes us different? Building a team. My team is entirely virtual. They're all over the world. They're all independent contractors. Some of them I've been working with for years now. So we have stability. But in the early days, there was a lot of turnover, understanding how to really hire the right people and how to build a team culture in a virtual environment when they're not even employees, right? Like, how do you bring people together and on the same page? That was definitely a big challenge. I think probably the biggest challenge that I had was kind of a sad one. In 2021, I lost my longtime friend and virtual assistant, Cecile, to COVID. She died very suddenly. Her husband died within a week of her passing, and they left an orphaned 10-year-old daughter behind, who very fortunately had family to go to. She's okay. She's all right. But it was really devastating. I mean, it was hard personally, of course, but professionally, this was a person I had for 6 years, been my right hand. She was my project manager and my virtual assistant and my everything. She did so much for the business. And when she passed, it was really hard to get back up on my feet. It was really hard to care. I was grieving. And in the midst of that personal grief, I had to rebuild a business by myself because I didn't have any help. She was my whole admin team. So that was really challenging. And I think that really informed the last few years where I had a focus on having the business run as efficiently and effectively as possible without me. Having everything run in a system so smoothly or independent of people, I should say, that any given person could come in and the documentation is there and the structures are there and the systems are there, that the business could still function if we had a catastrophic loss like that again.
And I am sorry for your loss and for the pain that goes through. But for the audience members, right, Ally has just reinforced the key need to have scalable, repeatable processes that are mature enough and that we can call them an actual system. Ally, thank you for sharing that story with us, because that's a hard one. And I know that, many leaders, right, businesses changed in the COVID pandemic era. and how we responded to that is telling us the stories of where we're at today come from that experience. If you have piqued the interest and curiosity from some budding writers out there in the audience, how do they find out more?
Well, I would love to offer your listeners access to a free gift. It's called Don't Write the Wrong Book. It's about a 25-minute program, talks about the same kinds of things we're talking about here. What exactly does it mean to write the right book? How do you avoid writing the wrong book? And I take them through a simple 5-step process to start analyzing the many ideas they probably already have to figure out which one they really should focus on. And they can get that by going to offers.thewritersally.com/disrupt and innovate, all spelled out.
Yeah, it's just bad. Don't do it. In today's conversation, Ally, you have done a fantastic job kind of educating us on the power of writing the right book. So many have gone down the path of writing the book where they're missing the strategy. They don't know how it ties to their business, and they certainly don't know how to leverage it so that they are driving business for their growth, which is probably the underlying goal everybody is looking for. And really working with your clients in this process to understand what is it that the audience needs from the author, from the book, so that they can get it out there and actually drive the results that they're looking for. In this partnership with the writer, you're talking through the process of developmental editing. And that is that experience where you're taking the good idea and actually making it great, helping authors get outside of themselves and the attachment that we might have to what we do and how we do it, to actually making it meaningful and consumable to the reader, the audience, your future client. So, Ally, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your stories and your journey. Audience members, you know my rules. Don't get left behind. Join me next time.
That's it for today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate. Head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show.